Hey there, and welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. Today, we're diving into an exciting topic that can really change the way you think about your living situation and your finances. House hacking.
That's right, Sarah. House hacking is such a powerful strategy. It's all about living in one part of a property while renting out the other, essentially helping you live for free, or at least significantly reducing your living expenses.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that it's not just about saving money. It's also a fantastic way to build long-term wealth through real estate.
Yeah, so today we'll be exploring the different ways you can house hack, the types of properties you might consider, and some tips to make it work for you, even if you're starting later in life.
And we'll also talk about some common challenges people face when house hacking and how to overcome them.
Plus, we'll share some real-life success stories from folks just like you, who've turned the idea of house hacking into a powerful financial strategy.
So if you've ever thought about how to make your home work for you, or you're looking for practical advice on real estate investing, you're in the right place. Let's jump right in.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off by discussing what exactly house hacking is and how it can fit into your investment strategy. So, Sarah, house hacking really matters right now, especially for folks over 40. I mean, when you start looking at retirement timelines, it's kind of a wake-up call, right?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people feel that pressure with rising costs and inflation. It's like, if you don't have a solid plan in place, you might find yourself scrambling later.
Exactly. And house hacking can be a game changer in that regard. You can generate income from your property to help pay down your mortgage, or even cover your living expenses, which, let's face it, is more important than ever these days.
Right. I heard a story from a listener. Let's call her Lisa. She's in her early 50s and recently decided to house hack a property she inherited from her parents. Instead of just living in it, she rented out a couple of rooms to young professionals. She's not only covering her mortgage, but she's also creating a little nest egg for her future.
That's a perfect example. By doing that, Lisa is not just saving on living costs, but she's also building equity in the property. And with inflation being what it is, that's a smart move. Properties tend to appreciate over time, so she's really setting herself up for long-term wealth.
Plus, it gives her some financial flexibility, right? If unexpected expenses come up, she has that extra income to fall back on.
Exactly. And then there's the emotional side. I mean, financial security can do wonders for your peace of mind. Knowing that you have a stable income source, especially in uncertain times, can really alleviate stress.
For sure. I think many people underestimate how much that emotional aspect matters. It's not just about the numbers on a spreadsheet.
You're right, and let's not forget the potential for wealth transfer. I know a couple who, let's call them Tom and Rachel. They rented out their basement to a family while living upstairs. Not only did it help them with their mortgage, but it also set them up to leave a more substantial inheritance to their kids.
That's a huge point. They're building wealth while also creating a safety net for their family. And in today's economy, with shifts in the job market and uncertainty around retirement savings, that kind of foresight is invaluable.
Definitely. And with the current market trends, there's a growing demand for rental properties, especially in urban areas. So this strategy isn't just practical, it's also a smart financial decision.
Speaking of the market, it's interesting how some people over 40 might feel hesitant to dive in now, thinking they missed the boat. But that's not necessarily true, is it?
Not at all. In fact, many investors are finding opportunities even in shifting markets. It's all about having the right approach. House hacking, for instance, allows you to enter the market with less financial burden.
And it can be a stepping stone. Like, if you start small, you can gradually build your portfolio. Maybe Lisa decides to buy another property down the line, right?
Exactly. And let's talk about the power of community. House hacking not only helps financially, but it can also foster connections. Lisa, for instance, has made friends with her tenants. They support each other, share resources. It's a win-win.
That's such a great point. There's something fulfilling about building a community while also investing in your future. And it can be really rewarding to see others thrive in a space you provide.
For sure. And let's not forget about the tax benefits. When you house hack, you can often deduct certain expenses related to the rental portion of your home. It's like getting paid to invest in your future.
That's a great incentive. And it can really add up, especially when you're trying to make every dollar count as you approach retirement.
Exactly. And with the uncertainty in the economy, having that additional income stream gives you more control over your finances, which is crucial as we get older.
Yeah, and it can even help you feel more secure about your retirement. You know, knowing that you won't be solely reliant on Social Security, which, let's be honest, might not be enough for a comfortable lifestyle.
Exactly. And the earlier you start, the better. I mean, imagine being 60 and having a fully paid off property that not only houses you, but also generates income.
That's a powerful vision, and it's really achievable with house hacking. It's all about taking those first steps and being open to new possibilities.
Right. And I think for many people over 40, it's about shifting the mindset. Instead of seeing a property as just a place to live, you can see it as a tool for wealth creation.
Yes, and it's about recognizing that it's not just about the financial benefits, but also the lifestyle and the relationships you can build along the way.
Absolutely. So as we transition into discussing some core strategies for house hacking, let's keep that in mind. It's about creating a sustainable, fulfilling financial future while also enriching your life and the lives of others around you. So let's dive into some practical strategies for house hacking, right? It's really about making your property work for you so you can live for free while building wealth.
Exactly. So where should we start? Maybe with some basic rules of thumb?
Yeah, that sounds good. One of the first things I always mention is the 1% rule. You know, it's a simple way to evaluate whether a rental property is worth considering. If you can charge at least 1% of the purchase price in monthly rent, it's often a good sign.
So if a property costs, let's say, $200,000, you'd want to rent it out for at least $2,000 a month, right?
Exactly. And that's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a great starting point. If you're way below that, you might want to think twice about the investment, unless there are other compelling factors, like a strong appreciation potential.
Right. And speaking of appreciation, can we talk about the 50% rule?
Sure. The 50% rule is another quick way to estimate your operating expenses. Basically, you assume that about 50% of your rental income will go toward expenses. So, using our previous example, if you're collecting $2,000 in rent, you should budget around $1,000 for expenses.
That makes sense. It helps to keep things realistic, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that includes everything from property management fees, maintenance, taxes, insurance, and even a little bit set aside for vacancies.
How do you usually calculate your cash flow then?
Well, after you've estimated your income and expenses, you can calculate cash flow by subtracting your total expenses from your rental income. Let's say your rent is $2,000, and you have $1,000 in expenses. That leaves you with $1,000 in cash flow each month.
And that's a great indicator of profitability.
Exactly. And if you can cover your mortgage payment and still have some cash flow left over, you're in a good spot.
So what about evaluating different property types? Are some better suited for house hacking than others?
Great question. Single-family homes are often the easiest to start with, but duplexes, triplexes, or even fourplexes can provide multiple income streams.
I guess the more units you have, the better your chances of covering your mortgage, right?
Yep. Plus, living in one unit while renting out the others can significantly reduce your living expenses. Just think about it. If you buy a triplex for $300,000 and each unit rents for $1, $200, you could be bringing in $3, $600 a month.
And if your expenses are around that 50% mark, you're looking at a solid cash flow after the mortgage payment.
Exactly. Just be sure to check the zoning laws and regulations in your area, especially if you're considering multifamily properties. Some neighborhoods have restrictions on rental units.
That's a good point. And how about financing options?
Well, for house hacking, many people use conventional loans, but I often recommend looking into FHA loans, which allow you to put down as little as 3.5%.
And that's a huge advantage for first-time buyers.
For sure. And you can also use the rental income from the other units to help qualify for the loan.
So it's a win-win situation.
Definitely. Another option is to consider a portfolio loan. Some lenders will allow you to bundle multiple properties under one loan, which can simplify financing when you scale your investments.
That's interesting. It sounds like there are quite a few pathways to get started.
There really are. And don't forget about creative financing options like seller financing or partnerships. especially if you're looking at a property that needs some work.
Right, that can really open doors for those who might not have a ton of cash up front.
Absolutely. And speaking of properties that need work, let's touch on the importance of a deal evaluation checklist.
Yes. What's on your checklist when you evaluate a potential property?
Well, first, I look at the location. Is it in a growing area? Are there schools, shops, and public transport nearby? Then, I check the property condition. Does it need major repairs, or is it move-in ready?
And what about the numbers?
Good question. I always run the numbers. Calculate the expected cash flow, and then compare that to similar properties in the area. It's crucial to know how your investment stacks up against others.
And that gives you a better idea of the potential return on investment, right?
Exactly. And I also look at the cap rate, which is the net operating income divided by the property's price. It's another way to assess profitability. A higher cap rate generally means a better investment.
So if a property is priced at $300,000 and brings in $36,000 a year in net income, that's a cap rate of 12%, right?
Spot on. And anything above 8% is typically considered a good investment in many markets.
That's really helpful to know.
And remember, always factor in your exit strategy, whether you plan to sell, refinance, or hold the property long term.
Yeah, that's key. You want to know how you'll eventually profit from your investment?
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this section, let's briefly touch on some common pitfalls that investors should be aware of.
Oh, definitely. Let's do that.
So, one of the biggest pitfalls that I see, especially with newer investors, is over-leveraging. People get really excited about buying their first property, and they think, oh, I can put down the minimum and borrow as much as I can.
Right, and it sounds tempting, doesn't it? You want to maximize your investment, but then it can backfire, can't it?
Exactly. Like, I worked with this couple a few years back. They bought a duplex, and they were so eager to jump in that they took on a mortgage that was, well, really stretching their budget. They were confident in the rental income, but the market shifted, and suddenly they were underwater.
That must have been tough for them. So what happened next?
Well, they had to scramble to make the payments. They ended up being forced to sell at a loss, which was heartbreaking for them. The lesson here is to really assess what you can afford, not just in terms of the mortgage payment, but also considering the other costs that come with property ownership.
Yeah, that's a great point. People often overlook those hidden costs, don't they?
Absolutely. Things like property taxes, maintenance, and even insurance can add up quickly. I remember another investor who didn't factor in the cost of repairs. He thought the house was perfect, but then, a month in, the roof started leaking.
Oh no, that's a nightmare. Did he have to dip into savings to fix it?
He did, and it really put a strain on his finances. If he had done a thorough inspection before buying, he might have spotted those issues early. It's so important to budget for those unexpected expenses.
Right. And I think that brings us to another common mistake: bad tenants.
Yes, that can really derail your plans. I've seen investors who are so eager to fill vacancies that they skip the tenant screening process.
That's a risky move. What kind of issues can that lead to?
Well, I worked with an investor who rushed to rent out a unit to a tenant who seemed nice enough at first, but then things went south pretty quickly. The tenant stopped paying rent after a couple of months, and it took forever to evict them.
Wow, that's so stressful.
It really is. Plus, think about the lost rental income during that time. If they had taken the time to properly screen tenants and check references, they could have avoided a lot of heartache.
So what's the best way to go about tenant screening?
It's all about being thorough. Check their credit, ask for references, and don't be afraid to ask tough questions. It might feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's your investment at stake.
That makes sense. And I guess ignoring cash flow is another big mistake.
For sure. Some investors get so caught up in the idea of appreciation. They think, oh, the value will just keep going up. But then they forget about the cash flow.
Right. Like if you're not bringing in enough rent to cover your expenses, that's a huge red flag.
Exactly. I had a client who bought a property in a trendy neighborhood, thinking it would appreciate quickly. But the rent they were getting barely covered the mortgage.
Did they end up losing money?
They did. It took them a while to realize that they were actually losing money each month because they weren't paying attention to the cash flow. So always run the numbers and make sure your rental income can support your expenses.
And timing the market. That's a tricky one, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I once met an investor who was waiting for the perfect moment to buy, thinking prices would drop. But the market doesn't always cooperate.
So they missed out on some good opportunities?
Exactly. They hesitated for months, thinking they'd save a few bucks. But when they finally decided to jump in, prices had gone up significantly. It's all about finding a balance between being cautious and being decisive.
And I guess the key is to focus on your own financial goals rather than trying to time the market?
Yes! Always keep your long-term strategy in mind. It's better to have a solid plan and stick to it than to chase after every little fluctuation in the market.
Great advice. So what can people do to avoid these pitfalls?
Well, first, educate yourself as much as you can. Attend workshops, read books, and connect with experienced investors. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's so important. Sometimes, just talking to someone who's been through it can save you a lot of trouble.
Exactly. And always conduct thorough due diligence before making any investment decisions. Take your time to analyze cash flow, understand the local market conditions, and don't rush into things just because you feel pressured.
And if someone finds themselves in a tough spot, what's the best way to recover?
Well, it's all about being proactive. If you find yourself in a bad situation, reassess your financials and consider speaking to a real estate advisor or a financial planner. They can help you come up with a strategy to get back on track.
Great insights, Mike. It's really all about making informed decisions, isn't it?
Absolutely. With the right knowledge and a solid plan, you can navigate these challenges and build wealth over time.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. It's been really enlightening.
I agree. Thanks for the engaging conversation, Sarah. All right, so let's dive into some actionable steps that our listeners can take right now to start their house hacking journey.
Yes, I love that. It's all about getting practical, right? What's the first thing they can do?
Well, the first step is really about educating yourself. I'd recommend checking out some great resources. Books like The House Hacking Strategy by Craig Kirlop are fantastic for understanding the ins and outs of house hacking.
Oh, I've heard of that one. It's really relatable, isn't it?
Exactly. And there's also Real Estate Investing for Dummies. It's a classic, but it breaks things down in a way that's super easy to understand.
What about podcasts? I know a lot of folks love listening on the go.
For sure, BiggerPockets podcast is a must-listen. They cover a wide range of topics, including house hacking, and feature real-life stories from investors.
That sounds really motivating. What about tools? Are there specific apps that can help?
Absolutely. One of my favorites is Zillow. You can search for properties, check rental estimates, and get a feel for the market.
Yeah, I use that one. What else?
Another great tool is the BiggerPockets calculator. It helps you analyze deals to see if they make financial sense. You can input your numbers and get a clearer picture of the potential cash flow.
That's super useful. What about for rental pricing?
Rentometer is awesome for that. It gives you a quick overview of rental prices in your area, so you can make sure you're pricing your unit competitively.
Nice! And what if they want to go deeper into the local market?
Access to your local MLS can be a game changer. It allows you to see detailed listings and recent sales data, which is invaluable for understanding your market.
So they've got the resources for research. What about habits they can start developing right away?
Great question. I'd suggest starting small. For instance, commit to analyzing one deal each week. It doesn't have to be a perfect deal. Just practice evaluating different properties.
That's a great idea. It's like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And joining a local real estate meetup can also be incredibly beneficial. Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals can inspire you and provide networking opportunities.
Networking is key. What should they look for in a meetup group?
Look for groups that focus on real estate investing, specifically house hacking or rental properties. Engaging with others can lead to partnerships or even mentorship opportunities.
And what about actionable steps for financing?
If you're considering a purchase, start talking to mortgage brokers. They can help you understand your options and what you can afford. Knowing your budget up front is critical.
That's smart. It's all about being prepared, right?
Exactly. And don't forget to keep an eye on your credit score. A good score can significantly impact your financing options.
So they've got their education, tools, and some good habits in place. What's next?
Well, I'd also encourage listeners to develop a clear vision. Write down your goals, like how much rental income you want to generate or the type of property you're aiming for.
That's a great way to stay focused. And it makes it feel more real?
Absolutely. And remember to celebrate small wins along the way. Every step forward matters.
Right. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yes! And lastly, consider leveraging social media. Follow real estate investors on platforms like Instagram or YouTube. They often share insights and tips that can motivate you.
Oh, I love following those stories. It keeps the excitement alive.
Exactly, and it helps you visualize the possibilities.
So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together.
So as we wrap up this episode, let's take a moment to reflect on some key takeaways from our discussion on house hacking.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I think one of the biggest points is that house hacking allows you to lower your living expenses while simultaneously building equity in a property, right?
Exactly. And it really opens up the opportunity to live for free, or at least very affordably, while investing in real estate. That's a win-win situation.
For sure. Another important takeaway is that it can be a great way to get your foot in the door of the real estate market, especially if you're just starting out.
Yes, and remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. Even renting out a room or a basement can set you on the right path to wealth building.
And let's not forget the flexibility it offers. You can choose how much you want to engage with tenants, and it can be a stepping stone to more significant investments down the line.
Absolutely, Sarah. House hacking provides not just financial benefits, but also a way to learn the ropes of being a landlord without diving in head first.
It's all about creating that long-term wealth, and real estate is such a solid avenue for that. So if you're over 40 and thinking about investing, this is definitely a strategy to consider.
Right, and speaking of that, we want to encourage everyone to take action. Like, subscribe, and please share your biggest takeaway from this episode in the comments.
Yes, or even drop us a question if you're curious about anything we talked about. And don't forget to share this with someone who might be looking to invest in property, especially if they're over 40.
Great point, Sarah. And next time, we'll dive into the 1% rule. It's going to help you find cash-flowing rentals quickly, so stay tuned for that.
Can't wait for that. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Until next time.
Take care.